Welcome to CXO Connect, where we speak to leaders reshaping India's future. Today's guest is Dr. U.S. Awasthi, Managing Director of IFFCO, and a name etched into the story of India's cooperative movement. Over 5 decades at the helm, he has transformed IFFCO from a fertilizer brand into a rural movement, empowering millions of farmers across the country. Honored with the title of Fertilizer Man of India, Dr. Awasthi represents a rare blend of visionary leadership and grassroots impact. Sir, it is a great privilege to have you with us. We are launching this podcast with your interview. I think that it is so good of you to give us this time. Today's podcast, we will try and talk about your journey to this stage. And welcome to the Times of India CXO Connect.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Let's go ahead.
Sir, from a small village to a global leader, was this always your dream, or can you sort of walk us through how this journey has been?
Well, when I was in a village, I have always heard at that time, our leaders, our people who were leading the country, always talking of having shortage of engineers, we should have scientific mind, we should go into a place where we can create something in India. And that's what something I realized, that one thing where we must do is, I must do it if possible, that is to create something for our country, to be part of country's journey. And I'm happy that I have been part of that journey, and this is where I am today.
So to walk us through how was your early childhood? Where were you in a village? How did you sort of your journey to engineering and then into the corporate life?
Well, sort of life at that time in the village was very primitive and was really a transformation age, I would say, of India. I mean, I was born in 45, we got independence in 47. So India was looking at something in future. And the same way was happening in our village, where there was no school, where I was staying with my maternal uncle. So there was no school. So my maternal uncle built a school for me, and where everybody came start studying. I used to have, in our that time, we used to have a wooden khadao going into the school. Of course, later on it changed to petty shoes and all that happened. But the initial childhood was in a primitive village where there was no electricity. But then our house, if it's very maternal uncle house, was full of literary people, was full of business people, full of political people, while our household, Awasthi household, was purely on agriculture, into the freedom movement, or into some kind of small business. So I used to study in practically both the school, and both the schools were near to our house. They were built by our family. There it was built by our maternal uncle. Here it was built by our uncle. At that time, you just build a school, put 1 or 2 rooms, and you inform the government that there is a school, and they will get a certificate that middle school is there. So that is how we started our education. And then later on, as the opportunity came, I kept on working. Actually, when I came to Kanpur, it was class 5th. So I came and joined class 6, and I especially took science as a subject. And taking science as a subject means you're going into some kind of technical knowledge. Later on, as I kept on working on our subjects, I realized I'm more interested into mathematics than to biology. So you're not going to the kind of doctor side. I went to engineering side, into something. And then I got admission to BHU. So BHU, I really chose chemical engineering. But when I joined BHU, that was year 1962. And in 1962, we had problems in our country. PL480 we are getting wheat from PL480 from America. And then we had a Chinese aggression in 1962. That as a young man had really shaken me. That how can our country, which everybody was talking has become such a strong, Panchsheel was there, Nehru was being considered world leader, and he was sometimes a dream for us at that time. And then I had a very shaken knowing that what is happening. So I participated in some kind of movement in which we were trying to protect water. We were trying to go to railway station to try to help our soldiers. That time I realized that probably my body is not fit to be go and fight at the front or join the army. But yes, this is a time where I must do hard work. I must do my engineering and then try to take up the profession, which was at that time. At that time, we knew that fertilizer is one area which can contribute to producing more food grain. So that was something which I decided in my mind that if there's opportunity, I will take the first opportunity to be a fertilizer, join the fertilizer company, learn how to make fertilizer, make our country self-sufficient food grain. And this is what had been my dream all through my life, to try and help the farmers, try and help the soil, try and help in making our country self-sufficient into food grain and if possible to be the powerhouse of providing to other part of the world.
Wonderful. So your journey, as you mentioned, sort of mimics the growth of this country and the journey of this country. You've seen this country evolve, as it were, from the time it got independent. What do you think your sort of the values that were instilled in you in your childhood? What kind of values were instilled? How do you think they played a role in shaping your later life? Like right from your journey from school, your village school, to Kanpur, to later to BHU when you were in engineering. What are the kind of sort of family values that were instilled, or what are the values that you picked up when you were studying, let's say, engineering?
Well, some of us since our family, both from maternal uncle side and from paternal side, was into freedom movement. So they had extreme idea about language. They were very much against English. They were very much against anything which is Englishized. So I was wearing khaddar most of the time. In our house, if you speak English, you'll be scolded. So practically I was studying in Hindi medium. And when I went to BHU, that was quite a shocking moment for me because I was absolutely different than most of our classmates who were from different background. So I had a lot of problem in understanding English. I had a lot of problem in understanding my, especially the engineering, because I had most of the time studied into Hindi medium. And so that time, my seniors, they first ragged me because I was from a different background and they were from a different background. But later on, they realized that probably they need to help me. So it is very interesting, since you are from Times of India, but it's very interesting for me that they told me to subscribe immediately to Times of India, and they started showing me English movie. So that is the day I started reading Times of India. Even today, I read only Times of India. So Times of India became my part of life, my part of daily routine. From there, I learned English. From the movies, I learned English. I mastered it, and I started understanding engineering. This is where, I've self-educated myself into the language, but the help from Times of India and from seniors, and they encourage me to speak English only. So that is where, as you grow, you start learning something. This is what happens with me. I will say that time, most of us were full of sentiments for our country. We're full of patriotism. We want to do whatever we can do for our country. That's the kind of environment in which I have been brought up. And that's the kind of environment which I had always had. And even in debates, when I used to participate in debates, most of the time I will speak only on the subject which is dear to me and good for my country. Even when I was studying in the school, from ninth class onward, my headmaster asked me that after the prayer, for 5 minutes you would speak. So 5 minutes I used to speak about current topics, about current matters, and that's where my mind also started growing, and it started working into what is good for my country and what is good for my farmers.
You spoke of patriotism, and thank you for sharing that lovely anecdote about learning, sort of teaching yourself English by reading the Times of India. But there's another anecdote, and since we were on that anecdote, let me sort of just mention another anecdote which I read in a book about you recently. That after you got married, you had sort of ridden off in your scooter without your wife, and I thought that was a very lovely anecdote, very interesting anecdote. And if you could just share it with our audience, what was that context and how to manage to sort of leave your wife and ride off in a scooter?
Well, it's very interesting. I had a Lambretta scooter. I still remember the number RJR 5458.
Which year is this?
I bought it in about 1969. I got married in 70. But it so happened that my wife never sat on a scooter. Before that, her father had a car, and I had never had any girl on my scooter, so I didn't know how to. So I told her to sit on my scooter. We were going for a party. There was to be a lot of party, and my wife is a good singer. She is a music. She has done also that time she has done bachelor's in music. We had very good equation, and so I said, let's sit on my scooter and we'd go for a party. On the way, some Kota roads at that time were not as good as they are today. So after I started driving, she must have fallen because she was not holding anything. She thought she's sitting in a car. And I didn't realize that she has fallen from my scooter. So I reached at my friend's place and I looked back and I didn't find her. So I came back and I saw her. She's standing on the road and crying. So I said, what happened? She said, I fell down. I said, okay, but you should have hold me. So I said, you should hold me like this. And since then, she has been holding me.
That's indeed a nice, lovely story. Let me sort of come back to your professional journey. After your engineering, could you walk us through your initial sort of journey into this world of fertilizers?
Well, 67, I passed out my chemical engineering degree. Before that, in 1966, my brother had died. He was the only breadwinner in the family. So my bhabhi used to stay in Delhi. So I used to take 1 rupee from her and take a Mudrika ticket for 25 paisa. 75 paisa was sufficient for the day. So I started looking for a job. And 67, our country had a lot of, I would say, economic downturn. And they were practically, jobs were very difficult. But I kept on searching, I kept on staying. Then I saw a board on Chandela, Shriram Fertilizer. So every day I would go to Shriram Fertilizer, sit before the HR department. And that time, Shriram Fertilizer was being headed by one Mr. Prem Chopra. He was heading the HR department. So every time I will go and say, I want to work for Shriram Fertilizer because it is fertilizer. That's my dream, to work for a fertilizer factory. One day he must have got frustrated, or he must have get rid of this boy. So he took me to Lala Chatram. So Lala Chatram was managing director at that time at Shriram Fertilizer. She asked me a simple question. Why you want to work for us? I said, I want to work because I want to work in a fertilizer factory. She says, how much salary should I give you? I said, as much as whatever you give me, I'll accept it. She gave me 450 rupees salary and 50 rupees food allowance. I said, okay, you are being appointed. So I came back and I told Mr. Chopra, now give me appointment letter immediately. I took that appointment letter, went home. When I went home, I found that Fertilizer Corporation of India had also sent me appointment letter. At that time, salary was 550 rupees. But then, since I had already given a word to Raj Chatral, was managing director, I decided I must go and join Shriram Fertilizer. And that time, Shriram Fertilizer was under construction. So I immediately took the train, night train, and reached next morning. Went to the Shriram Fertilizer, started working there.
And this was in Rajasthan.
So 67, I got this job sometime in September, October. So I went and joined Shriram Fertilizer, that was under construction. So I had got a lot of opportunity to know everything from the grassroots, how fertilizer factories, each component, each thing. And I used to be part of the project. And then later on, I was part of the operations. So in operation, I used to go in shifts, learn everything by knowing and participating in each activity, be it production, maintenance, any activity in project management. So I got a huge experience in Shriram Fertilizer. And later on, when Zuari Agrochemicals was being put up, I was approached by Mr. K.K. Birla's scheme. He was the owner of Zuari Agrochemicals. And they asked me to join them. Again, this was right in the beginning. So again, I had the opportunity of second plan. And later on, of course, I got offer from Mr. Pothan, because by time people started realizing the industry was not so big. So any conference I will go, I'll participate. They will understand that this boy is shaping up well. He's more keen to understand the business. So I got offer from IFFCO. And that was a turning point of my life. That is where I am today.
And that was which year, sir?
That was year 1975. 76 others. 75 I came to Kota here in Delhi because Mr. K. Birla wanted a project in Malaysia. So I was started working for Malaysian project for paper. But 1 year I was very restless, that I was not very happy working for paper industry and in the industry. I wanted to be part of fertilizer. So that time I got offer from IFFCO, and I decided that I must go back to IFFCO, must go back to fertilizer. So I came to IFFCO in 76. And that is where I was directly working with Mr. Pothan, and IFFCO was coming up at that time. But then in 1986, by the time I was building this Amla plant in IFFCO, I got offer, and my secretary fertilizer told me that I have selected you for PPCL. So you go and revive PPCL. And that was a day before Parliament had passed a bill of closing the PPCL or retrenching 600 people from their roll call of PPCL and revive it, give a proposal for revival. So for 7 years, I worked in PPCL, also RCFC MD. And then again came back to IFFCO in 1986. I went to 1986 PPCL, but came back in 1993 and managed at IFFCO. And since then I'm in IFFCO.
There's also an interesting story I read about you refusing a $10,000 offer in Malaysia. And that was in the early 80s. $10,000 is a lot of money even today. But in the early 80s, it would have been a small fortune. What prompted you to sort of refuse that amount and that offer? What was just walk us through that?
That was year 1983. Exactly. First of all, that it was a matter of conflict. My mind is always in this country. As I told you right from the day one, since I have known the word, I have loved this country. And somehow my mind was also not very comfortable. My mother, please don't take it any religious bias, but my mother had refused to go to a country which is a Muslim country. And I didn't want to leave my mother, because my mother is the one who has shaped me, who has fed me, who has given me money for education, who has built me what I was. I didn't want to leave her. That's one thing. My wife is very attached to my mother, so she also refused to go. But then she called my father-in-law, her father, Shilal Shukla, as my father-in-law. He came with his wife and he told me one slok in Sanskrit. And then he spoke me the marriage. What is the use of that wealth which is not used by the relation and the friends? And looking at the wealth, if your enemies are not jealous, what is the use of the wealth? So he told me, if you want something there, if you become a big man there, what is the use of that money? Because that money is of no use.
Because you don't have friends there.
It's not
Your family
here.
is not there. Your friends are.
That was something which has helped me in taking a decision not to go there, because money was not something which always attract me. I am always kind of person who likes to work 24 hours for my mission, for my job. And that I wanted to give to my country.
You've now worked with 9 prime ministers and maybe 35, 36 agriculture ministers. What has helped you navigate this long journey? And you've worked with politicians across the spectrum. I remember, talking to you about 7, 8 years ago, and I asked you this question then also. What sort of helps you not just navigate this political spectrum and survive in it, but thrive in it? What has been your way of dealing with such diversity?
See, my experience is most of the politicians are something which they want to do something. That's why they went to that position. And since they want to do something, of course, initially there could be some problem. Initially there may be misunderstanding. But as soon as they realize that this man is the man who's delivering, then they don't disturb you. This is my experience. If I find politicians are the smartest people in our country, bureaucrats may not be. Bureaucrats have limited reach. They like to work within a structure until they have their minister who gives them opportunity to work out of the structure. They want to work within a structure. But politician, he breaks the structure for the society. So when he finds that he is getting delivery, the person is delivering, which is good for the country, they don't interfere. This is my experience with all of them. Be it be minister, be it be prime minister, be their opposition people. But experience is this. Until there's something personally happens, or personally sometime in your behavior, if you really pinch their nerve, that's what we have to avoid. Don't pinch the nerve, which will be... So every person has some soft nerve. Try to avoid that pinching of the nerve.
In Hindi, you say dukti rag. So, can you sort of share with us some instances of where you found somebody initially very difficult to work with, but gradually they sort of converted, or somebody you found really a good working equation with some of these ministers or prime ministers that you've closely worked with?
Well, I would say that I had one incident where Mr. Devilal was Deputy Prime Minister, and he was also having agriculture and fertilizer. Otherwise, normally we have a separate fertilizer minister. Sometime, very few time, that was one time during this time, when agriculture and fertilizer was together. At that time, I was chairman of PPCL, and PPCL was the first plant I had built based on pyrite. So there what happened that Meera Kumarji, was from Sasaram. She lost the election and Mr. Chedi Paswan became member of parliament. So he, some other, he wanted to interfere and he wanted to come into the union, and I told him that this is something which is beyond me. At that time, also there were a lot of casteism. I was in Bihar, and there were a lot of casteism, and I happened to be Brahman. So there were a lot of anti-Brahman kind of environment. So he probably took it that I'm trying to, because the union leader at that time was a Brahman. So Mr. Paswan took it as if I'm trying to protect on the caste basis. So he took it as a caste bias. He organized 275 member of parliament signatures against me, giving all kind of wrong information.
275.
Yeah, at that time.
That's still a majority in parliament.
Yeah, it was majority, of course. Because that time, he was a member of parliament of the party, and he takes a paper, take anybody's signature. And it was not something which people were very, very conscious to sign at that time. And he sent it to Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Devilal. And Devilal ji was very furious. He called me and he told me, Chore, because they have written that I am as corrupt as Rajiv Gandhi. I don't know how can that be. But anyway, so he said, are you Congressy? I said, sir, aap bhi to pehle Congressy the. You were also before that congressman. So he laughed. He said, okay. Chore, sit. I found it very pious man, very simple man. And he could immediately realize. So I told him, sir, aap ek delegation bhej ke check kara liye. You can get it checked by sending delegation. So his MOS, Mr. Verma was there, MOS for agriculture, along with 4 or 5 members of parliament, including Mr. Chedi Paswan. That delegation went there. They saw the whole work. They, of course, in a public meeting, they started abusing me because I'm being Brahman. And because. So after that, they came to guest house and I refused to join them for lunch. So Mr. Verma sent somebody that please ask him to come and join for lunch. So I said, no, tell him I am untouchable and I won't join. So then he came to my room. He said, no, in meeting, you have to talk because this is what that environment is easy. But I have seen you have done very good work. We all realize, even Mr. Chedi Paswan realized that it was wrong later. And everybody then signed a very glorious report saying that this is the first time the plant has been built here and it has been built with all the safety, everything very well done. And so they gave a very good report. And then Mr. Chedi Paswan became a good friend of mine. And even today, he's a good friend.
So from a detractor to a friend, you've raised that journey. Could you recall any other instance where, let's say at IFFCO, you have managed to turn something that has gone completely wrong or something that is completely not working into a big opportunity and that has worked for you?
Well, there's only one incident happened that, we had a plant in Senegal where we had not majority shareholder, but I was nominated as the chairman, and that was the first joint venture we had for IFFCO and phosphoric acid. But then that time, suddenly, there was some movement here because Enforcement Directorate under FEMA started asking a lot of questions. And it was the first time somebody was asking me questions on a plant which was of course gone into a lot of problem because phosphoric acid prices had come down. There was a problem with the mining happened there. Everything happened simultaneously. And there was an election in Senegal where a new president came. So Mr. Abdoulaye Wade became president and he was very much against this plant. So he started troubling me a lot, and at the same time, this ED was troubling here in India. So finally, I sold off our stake to Indorama and That is the thing I think we missed something. But fortunately, I did one thing. While selling the stake, I had a buyback with certain amount of concession, which I did not give up. So India is still getting the raw material. We are still getting the raw material.
From
Only
that,
the ownership has gone, and they are making good money. That was $2 billion asset, where I had to spend only $100 million. And probably that is one thing which I think I still feel that I should have been more strongly minded, as I am always, and I should not have given up that time. But that's what happened in life. You also make one regret, which you can always say, yes, this is something which IFFCO could have had, and the $2 billion asset in their kitty. But that was not to be. That is not there.
IFFCO is a cooperative, and IFFCO functions on a lot of cooperative values. How do you maintain a balance? And I've always been curious of how do you maintain a balance between those cooperative values on one hand and corporate scale and corporate growth targets, etc. on the other hand, because this is an organization that's grown also at a phenomenal rate. So how do you sort of balance the sort of two ends of the scale, as it were?
IFFCO, as it has got more than about 35,675 societies, cooperative societies, which are our members, and we hold election every 5 years. We hold along with the parliament. So I always believe that our general body, which elects 21 directors, who becomes our directors on the board, is the same one which is elected the government. So there is no conflict. That way, the government policies we implement totally in IFFCO. We are always aligned with the government. So that's one thing which I have always made sure that there is no conflict between boards and the government. The second thing I have always done is I have not interfered in their affairs. That is, when politicians are elected as directors, they have their responsibility. They give a policy which is aligned with the government policies, and we implement those policies. But I also tell them, you don't interfere in the management. We don't interfere in your matter, you don't interfere in the management. And that has been maintained. So that is what the basic structure by which we have made cooperative as a corporate. And we work in the same principle. I have complete support of all chairmen, all the members of the board, and we are always aligned with the government policies. So I try to avoid conflict. I believe that having the same frequency is good for business and is good for growth.
Today, of course, IFFCO is at the pinnacle of not just India's cooperative movement, or it's not just a sort of fertilizer company. You're touching virtually every aspect of life, especially in rural India. To what extent is this modern success a reflection, you think, of your vision and, more importantly, perhaps your persistence with certain things when they may not have been in vogue?
Well, I think that as a organization wholly owned by the cooperatives, that means wholly owned the farmers. So what we have to do is we have to try and do all work which are good for the farmers. For example, when general insurance was getting open, we made sure that we immediately get the license for general insurance. And we were the first private company in a way which was given license for general insurance. That time the question came, why not life? The life insurance anyway had penetrated to the villages, because Life Insurance Corporation of India, LIC, was very much known to the masses. But general insurance was something which was lacking into rural India, into normal people. So we decided to take up the general insurance. So we started giving, for example, we started having, the first policy was Sankat Haran Bima Yojana.
Sankat Haran Bima.
That was when you buy one bag of fertilizer,
Okay,
automatically you get insurance coverage for 4,000 rupees. And insurance premium is paid by us.
And what did that fertilizer bag cost?
That time it was costing say about 270 rupees or something. But the premium, 37 paisa premium was paid by us. So they get subject to maximum 1 lakh rupee. So that's the insurance we took for the farmers.
And it was a value addition for the farmer with
But
the fertilizer
yes,
bag.
and it was not necessary because it was not necessary that you should, I must have done it because we have been always, our product has been always in a premium for the farmers because farmers who owe us also are part of our sales network. But still we did this. We did the Barish Bima Yojana. At that time, there was nothing like protection for the farmers. So we said we did Barish Bima Yojana. That is, barse to barse, na barse to kyun tarse. So if there is no rain and farmer loses his crop, we used to compensate. This kind of thing we started doing. So we did a lot of new things in general insurance. And then after that, when we realized that our farmers are not able to get good pesticides, we immediately had a joint venture with Mitsubishi and we started pesticide. We started that each farmer should have a village level or a Kasbah level store, agriculture store, where all kind of material is there. That is, the seed is there, fertilizer is there, pesticide is there, other commodities are there, equipments are there for farmers. We started this IFFCO Bazaar. When we realized that farmers are not able to get access to technology in form of mobile phones, we started IFFCO Sanchar with a joint venture with Airtel. When we realized that farmers need to have social forestry, we started an Indian Farmers Fertilizer Development Cooperative, whose main aim was to provide social forestry. And about 36,000 hectares of BAL in the country we have converted into rainforest. When we realized that farmers are having problem of getting credits, we started IFFCO Kisan Finance. So anything which farmer needs, we have tried to do it. When the earthquake came in Gujarat, we started IFFCO Kisan Seva Trust, in which we provide up to 75,000 rupees assistance to farmer for medical. We provide scholarship to bright children of farmers in the same IFFCO Kisan Seva Trust. So like that, we have built those organizations, which have been, when this thing came, NCDX, that is exchange traded commodity market, we put money into that, NCDX. We have been always continuously trying to make the life of the farmer better. So everything happens, we had been part of the rural India. That's why we are known in rural India as a organization which cares for them. And that is what our motto is. And that had been my life dream, to provide them whatever best possible we can.
So we were talking about how you worked with 9 prime ministers in this country. Let me put you on the spot. Which prime minister do you think is A, been the best to work with, and B, which prime minister do you sort of personally will say that has sort of raised India's stature, not just from your industry perspective, from a more holistic perspective, perhaps?
I think, I worked with 9 prime ministers. All of them have contributed what is the best they could contribute for the country. I've seen Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was contributed a lot. Mr. Rajiv Gandhi started at this computerization. Mr. Dev Gowda started working for the farmers' cause. So I've seen everybody has contributed something. But what I find in our present Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, that I found him to be most hardworking, extremely focused. He emits energy from his body. If you see his body language, it gives him impression as if he's emitting energy. And he has worked so hard that he has changed the perception about India and Indians abroad. Now, Indians are very much respected abroad. Our Prime Minister is respected abroad. So perception has been changed. But his biggest, I think, two biggest contribution to our country. One is massive digitization. Massive online things available in our country. And second is formation of cooperative ministry in 75th year of independence, which had not happened for 75 years, with the aim of Sakar se Samriddhi. So he realized that the village wealth can be created only through cooperative, which I think is the right thing, most important thing. And he gave the command of that ministry to none other than Sri Amit Shah ji, who is our Minister for Home and Cooperation. And Mr. Amit Shah's knowledge about cooperative is phenomenal. I found him, he is so focused about what can be done in cooperative, how to get cooperatives into the main line, how to get them into an area where they can contribute a lot. Like he's starting up 4 new multi-state cooperative societies, National Cooperative Export Limited, Bharat Bees Sahkari Samit Limited, National Organic Chemical Society Limited, and Sahkar Taxi. These 4 initiatives are the big initiative where export farmers can directly sell to NECL and get the best possible price. Bharat Bees Sahkari Samit Limited is going to provide the best possible seeds for our country, where also we'll take the traditional seed and get a higher yield from them. Same way, organic produce, which is not getting good product, good price here in our country right now, they are into the export. They are providing all kind of facility. The Sahkar Taxi, he realized that in taxi service can be also done through cooperatives. It's a massive movement there. He has brought in the world's biggest food storage facilities. And I think, when you sit in the meeting with him, he can talk on cooperatives like a real cooperator. And I have been in this sector for long. I know a person like him can talk on this subject, means immediately I realize that he's talking out of knowledge. And then he also tells you what is good in business. How can you do a good business? For example, he is telling me in our IFFCO Tokyo, we have joint ventures. He said, how can we get primary agriculture cooperative societies, district banks to become our part of the massive increase in general insurance, where, we have brought many new products. Here are Janta Bima Yojana, where from 85 rupees to 85 rupees, you can get yourself insured. For 12,500 rupees for, damage to your hut, up to 1 lakh rupee. Then education, if something happens to you, how can your child's education be protected? All kind of processes we have brought. That is an initiative which he encourages to do. So those are kind of policies, small policies, small ticket item, which can be part of the rural India. So this is something I find that a combination of both on our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, who's bringing up India's image abroad, and people now realize that India is not the same India. You can't take it for granted. And then Mr. Amit Shah is trying to revive the village level economy through cooperatives. It's a excellent combination, I would say. Our Honorable Prime Minister has started Namo Don Didi product.
Right.
We have trained 300 Namo Don Didis and gave them drone, gave them EV vehicle, gave them generator, and all kind of facility in that. So these Namo Don Didi, you will be surprised that last year they have done very good work and they earned more than 4.13 crore rupees. So there is a lot of enthusiasm among our women to participate in agriculture. So they are also coming now into agriculture. The young boys and girls, they are coming up. For about 1,764 drone we have provided to these. Up to 300 drones are for Namo Drone Didis, and 1,464 drone we have given to create new kind of entrepreneur, whom we have given them free, and every year 20% we are converting at their ownership. So after 5 years, the whole
complete
thing will be
ownership.
theirs. So they are also participating in new technology. It's coming up, and it's more. I hope that the state governments give a little more support to it, and we are getting a lot of support from Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Minister for Home and Cooperation, Honorable Agriculture Minister. But we also need support from media. We also need support from the state agriculture extension workers. All these things happens, I'm sure we can have a lot of changes into agriculture, and which is cheaper, and you'll get a better product, and you'll get a product which will be good for our health. So because practically you will have no chemicals in the traces when you produce your own product.
It's
With nano.
almost organic.
Are almost
Organic.
almost like a natural, like a organic.
Correct. If you have no traces, that fundamentally it is like organic.
Exactly like our. Right.
I'm talking about how you've expanded your business footprint. One of the, I think, most revolutionary products, if I may say so. And as a disclaimer, I must say that I come from a very urban background, but having now read about it and seen it in action for a while, I think nano urea is perhaps one of the key products, key changes that IFFCO is at the forefront of driving, not just from an Indian agriculture perspective, but from a global perspective.
Well, I would say that, as I told you, I started my life in fertilizer industry in 1967. That time our country was needing fertilizers. But then in 2010, I started realizing that too much excess use of fertilizer is happening in our country. Especially excess use of urea is happening in our country. And without realizing, urea is one fertilizer which mines away your precious particles like zinc, mines away your nutrients, your life-giving nutrient like zinc, like boron, like magnesium, like copper from the soil. And it creates more of a environment damage in form of NOx creation in the air, the water getting spoiled, the effect of health on the people, and by use of excess urea. And same thing happening with the phosphates.
I remember you'd likened urea to poison and said that it is actually poisoning humanity, as it were.
I would say it. This is my point of view now. The urea is the most dangerous chemical we are using which is dangerous for environment, dangerous for our health, dangerous for our soil, and it's only 30% which is using. 70% is going as a waste, either in the water pollution or in the air pollution or in the soil pollution. Even you're getting presently the wheat which is being produced in Punjab has practically no zinc. And if there is no zinc, then in our body, immunity becomes very weak. So it's also not very good for our health. So from 2017, I started working on this, how to replace it. First, I tried in 2010 our program called Bhoom Bachao Abhiyan, or Save the Soil campaign, which I started in 100 villages. But later on, by giving them that you should use green manure, you should use the compost. But then that did not pick up. So I started thinking that how to do something which can change the perception and which can make this use efficiency of fertilizer much better. So I was starting reading about it, and I realized the nanos, which is being used in space technology, which is being used in our IT, like your telephones. Telephone memory has become such big now with nanoparticles. They're used in medical. So why not in agriculture? So I started working on this, and we started a lab in our Kalol unit, which is our mother unit. In very near to Ahmedabad is our unit. And it's a very, Gujarat is a very quiet atmosphere. It gives you opportunity to work.
That's
The
why you choose
disturbances are
Kalol
very
as-
less.
That's why you choose Kalol as your R&D setup.
Yeah. And we started from Kalol.
Okay.
So we started, that's why they give you opportunity to grow.
Okay.
While if you go into Eastern India and UP and all, you'll find that industrial atmosphere is not as good as into west of Ghaziabad. And east of Ghaziabad, industrial atmosphere is not very good.
But you,
This we don't take it on a different, but this is my perception,
that's your,
which I'm sure slowly it is changing. It will change also. But then this is my perception. So I started, I built a lab there. I started getting the people to work on nanotechnologies. And I started telling everybody that why can't we take this nitrogen nucleus and break them into nanoparticle? And the initial stages, we were not getting success. Then I got person from US who came and worked for us. And he, at 4%, we started our journey with 4% nitrogen particle. The idea was when we take the, first of all, we tried natural nitrogen from the atmosphere, but that was not stable. Then we broke the nucleus, the molecule of urea, into nanoparticle. And we got it polymerized at that time initially with the fish-based polymer, which is animal-based polymer. But after 1 year, I realized that the shelf life of that is less, because that is subject to lot of virus and lot of it is getting, the shelf life is getting lower because of attack by the humidity, and the smell was also awful. So I realized that this product may not be possible to survive for very long. So I started looking at some other option. Of course, that scientist also probably felt that his product is not getting that much length or that much shelf life that farmers would use it. He decided to leave us, and we said, okay. And we looked at some other person who was working on this. So he brought a organic-based polymer. And when we got organic-based polymer, then these molecules we coated on organic-based polymer, and because of which the shelf life became 2 years. But then with 4%, what was happening, that of course, that was taking care of requirement of the plant, but that was a slow release. So farmers were getting the green color. They are used to green color because urea, as soon as you put, you get the green color. So farmers were getting green color, so there was complaints. So we started working on how to increase the concentration, because I was not very sure that the product will remain stable even at higher concentration. So we started working on it, and finally we succeeded in making it 20%. So now we have 20% nano urea plus with organic polymer. And I tell you simple technology, what is happening actually? What is in layman's
terms, what is nano?
Nah.
Correct.
1 gram of urea has got 6,000 nanoparticle in it. 1 gram. So only one particle of 6,000 will be going to the plants, where only 30% getting absorbed. While if I break one molecule of nanourea, has been broken into roughly 30 nanoparticles are there. So 6,000 divided by 30 nanoparticle means 200. 200 nanoparticle of urea, of nitrogen, not urea. Nitrogen is available in nano urea. So instead of one particle, he is getting now 200 particles. 200. So as soon as surface area increase, the efficiency goes up. So we have more than 95% efficiency. So there is nothing left on the soil really. Practically all of them is used. So imagine that it is only a question of breaking those molecules into nanoparticle and adding them into a shell of polymer so that they don't conglomerate again. We have coated them with polymer, and when we spread it on a leaf, this gets out because then these are smaller than the pores of the leaf.
So it is getting absorbed through the stomata.
So absorbed through the stomata and goes up to the root, and say 73% used by the leaf. So leaf produces chlorophyll, chlorophyll produces, I would say, protein, and immediately converted into good product. And about so left over 17%, 10% is used by the root, and about 7% by the stem. So stem is strong, roots are strong, and we are getting more than 6 to 7% higher yield. But then I started telling them that we are not stopping here. We are not starting in nano urea alone. Now let's go for nano DAP. Maybe same principle we applied. For DAP, the molecules, DAP or MAP, they are same. Only the difference is how much percentage of nitrogen and phosphorus is there. So we break those molecules and again absorb them. So again we have nitrogen and phosphorus absorbed. And what has happened in this revolutionary thing has happened. That with the DAP, what we are doing is we are first using for the seed treatment. Okay. So you take 500 milliliter of nano DAP, put into 1 liter of water, and depending on 1 kg of wheat of seed. If you have 1 kg of seed, take this much. If you have 5 kg of seed, take 25. So multiply by that ratio. And then what happened? The pore of the seed is bigger than the nanoparticle. So when you seed, we are empowering with nitrogen and phosphorus. And after that, we make it dry in 2 hours, because dry. And then we sow it. So as soon as this is nano, after that you spray nano urea and nano DAP together. So the seed which is empowered with the nitrogen and phosphorus gets germinated earlier. About 30% time is saved. So it germinates earlier. That means the whole crop cycle will be shorter. Then the farmer can get one more crop. And that is where nano DAP started working. And nano DAP price is much less. Then we started working on nano zinc. Now our nano zinc is very, very successful. The zinc deficiency is practically associated with the zinc. So after this, even seed treatment along with the DAP, you can put the zinc also. And later on you can spray along with nano urea, nano DAP and nano zinc. We got nano copper, which can take care of all fungus related disease. You do not have anything. And we are further developing. We are developing now nano NPK solid and nano NPK liquid. So nano NPK solid is basically for basal dose. We are still telling that you put some basal nano traditional DAP and urea. But as soon as nano NPK is approved by the government, we will start producing nano NPK. Then practically we don't need any solid urea and solid NPK. Then we are working on nano boron, we are working on nano sulfur, and all kind of chemicals we want to remove from the soil, so that our soil becomes healthy, our environment becomes better. This is something which has we have come into a very, very long way, and we have right now we have in South, this firm was there, which was on the research. So we acquired 50% stake in that. Now that firm is building a plant in Brazil. Because Brazil, US, Africa is very successful. Both nano urea and nano DAP. So building a plant there because their demand is much bigger. So in our country also, last year we sold 47% more nano product. It is also picking up in our country. It will also pick up and it will change the whole perception about agriculture. I'm sure about it. It's a second green revolution where we are heading to.
I also was sort of struck by the fact that you've been able to replace, and that's in a sense that sort of changes a lot of supply chain dynamics, that changes how you store, that changes how farmers collect it or take it. You've replaced a huge bag of urea with a small bottle, and the way it is applied through drones, etc. So it is changing a lot of dynamics of how farming is fundamentally being done and what kind of measures you have to undertake. Well, just walk us through that.
Well, you rightly said, certainly it will reduce a lot of storage cost, transportation cost. Even our young population, young people don't want to do agriculture. They will also get attracted because if there's a drone available, there's a spray machines available, don't have to dirty their hand and they use technology. This is what we are trying to give.
But why do you think, see, of course, you've established the technology, you've marketed a product, the product is picking up, growing at a phenomenal year-on-year growth rate of about 50%. Why do you think that IFFCO still is the only player with the commercial nano urea product, both in India? And why do you think countries like, let's say, China are struggling to build or make this kind of products?
I think I really can't answer it much, but I'm sure like in India, some other companies have also started making nano product. I'm sure that when they will realize that this is something which is helpful for the product, that's why probably our effort in Brazil and US will open up their eyes. In US, especially in California and Brazil, I can tell you that Brazil in sugarcane, in corn, having phenomenal increase. They've in fact not used at all solid fertilizer, those big farms. Even in US, almond seed had increased.
Correct. In California, almond, walnut.
And walnut seed has increased. In Mainland, in fact, the increase is 60%. And you'll be surprised to know the Napa Valley, which is the home for majority of, I would say, wine breeds. One winery used our nano product. Also, one great manufacturer had used our nano product on his farm. And winery take the grape only if they have 30% sugar content. Less than 30% they reject. And unfortunately, or his own system, there was not even one grape which has been rejected. So again, the demand is coming up more for this kind of product in America also. Africa, the growth is 40-50%. So African countries are also picking up, and it's much cheaper. It's about 10% of the actual price. I'm sure our country may take a little more time because here we have to make our people understand here because of subsidy, the price is much lower in our country, where other countries don't have subsidy.
Correct.
So naturally, it's picking up more there.
Correct. Because here urea is still a very highly subsidized.
Yes, highly subsidized.
Coming back to how in your development stage or what you've been doing in propagating this, what are some of the biggest challenges do you think which you faced, for example, during field trials or in an effort to scale this up or even with farmer adoption? What do you think are some of the biggest challenges that you have?
When I still remember 67, when we used to take urea to the farmers, there's a big resistance. Farmers will not allow urea to be brought in. They'll say, no, this will spoil our field. I remember those. The same thing happens in our country. Anything new you bring, it always has more challenges. It's difficult.
Initial resistance.
Yes, it's initial resistance. And I can understand it. It's a question of fear of unknown. Our farmers are not big farmers. I find the big farmers can take the risk. A small farmer, he's worried that if he loses his one crop, probably his whole year income is gone. So we are trying to tell them, okay, you use only 1/4 of area of your field. Rest 3/4 use traditional. That approach is also helping us a lot. So I would say, in our country, always anything new will take time to change. While other places, so maybe the revolution will come from outside than from inside. But here inside also, we have a reasonable amount of growth, I would say, reasonable amount of acceptability. And initially, as we had initial 4%, when we have animal-based polymer, and where we have to recall about 1 crore bottle, that went into minds. It took about 1.5 year, 2 years, take out to the mind of the people that this product is not good. That's what had also initial setback we have. Yep. So both combined together, I think this year is most crucial.
So how is this, for instance, for our mostly urban audience, can you just sort of illustrate how will this change perhaps farming practices on ground? And maybe if you can recall any farmer stories of farmers having come up to you and said, look, this is what I did and this is how I've benefited.
There are a lot of farmers, not one. I can say thousands are there where people have appreciated it. There are very few stories where people have not. Those people have not used it properly. So that is also we lack. Sometimes our people are not able to explain properly. Let's say we tell our people that you should explain properly how to use these, because this requires spread. This you cannot spray on the soil. This has to be on the field, on the plants. So when plants grow, then only you should apply. Where they are used to applying on the
soil.
On the soil. For soil, we are trying to bring nano NPK granules. Once that comes, probably this thing could be taken care of.
Also, we're talking about how you've acquired stake in a company that is now setting up something in Brazil. Your products are being appreciated in the US. What do you think this means, or what does this do for sort of India's leadership position in global agri-tech?
I think that once these plants are put up and they are successful, India's position as a scientific organization, as a scientific country, will also start increasing in the mind of people. Because agriculture is one of the most important aspects, any country. And when this happens, our India's name will be, people will remember India's name, IFFCO's name, because it's the Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative.
Correct.
So when that happens, and cooperatives, so the cooperatives are strong. That worldwide Indian International Cooperative Alliance, incidentally, they gave me this year Rochdale Pioneer Award, which has been, I'm the second Indian after Mr. Korean Varghese who got this award. So gave me this. They realizes that India's cooperative sector, milk and now fertilizer, is changing the perception about India. Now India's milk, Amul is going to many countries now. So when Amul goes there, India's name goes there. When IFFCO's go there, India's name goes there. So cooperatives are getting higher bandwidth worldwide. Like I said, perception about Indians and India is changing in the world. Now they realize that India is an important country. India is a country which is on the move. India is moving forward. That is where I think we are there.
I was also reading your last annual report where IFFCO has said that it is poised for a very rapid rollout of nano products. And you were yourself now talking about some of the products that you're exploring, and some are awaiting government approvals, etc. But you've got a whole sort of you've SKUs lined up in your nano portfolio. What sort of a role do you think our government is playing in sort of nudging you to do this very rapid rollout of products?
I think government, we only need support from the government for them to encourage. Other support we don't need because we have sufficient capital with us. We can put up the plant. We can also take the, like we are spending a lot of money on publicity. We can spend the money up. We have muscle, and we have money power, and we have the people with us.
And you have the technology.
Yes. So all this together, I think what we need is a cooperation, is some kind of appreciation from the state governments that using urea and using nano urea, nano DAP and other nano products is good for their soil, is good for the country and good for them. Because if they are able to save their subsidy bill, 50% money is going to them by Government of India.
Right.
That's also there. So these are kind of things which, if they start realizing, I'm sure it can pick up very quickly.
With any new technology, like you were also saying, there is going to be an initial resistance. And there's going to be some scientific debate around adoption, around how that technology is, what kind of benefit will it drive. And there have been some critique of let's say, nanotechnology, nano fertilizers, especially in India, because we are used to a certain way of farming, and this is sort of asking us to do something completely different. How has IFFCO sort of addressed them, and what are you sort of trying to do to sort of change those perceptions?
Well, we have formed different groups to work with different scientists. Even 2 days back, Indian Express has given an article from Punjab. The Punjab University is also now...
I read that, yes.
Started appreciating use of nano fertilizer.
Uh-huh.
They have also realized. So I think slowly this is now practically has been accepted by most of the scientific community. There could be, as I said, there could be some criticism always happen for anything. Anything in a one, that is good, because if somebody criticizes, we immediately try to correct that aspect. And if that aspect is not correct, we try to refute that thing. But we don't try to refute in a very aggressive manner. We try to refute through the scientific studies, scientific things. Anybody wants us to do testing anywhere, we are prepared. Anybody wants that we should put this kind of demonstration, we are prepared. So we are prepared to do any kind of thing which is needed by any scientist to prove that we are right. So we are not running away from debate. We are not running away from the studies. We are not running away from any kind of study to be done. We are there because we firmly believe that this is the future. This is the future if mankind has to survive and have lower environment, have better air, better water, better environment, lower heat, then I think this is what solution is. Nano fertilizers are the solution.
You're putting it at that pedestal where you're saying this is critical for human survival.
Yes. We have to look at this, that this is not something beyond agriculture. Because ultimately, if agriculture is there, then only human survives. If our water is good, then only human survives. So why are we wasting our precious water? Why are we wasting our precious air? Like, when you apply nano fertilizers, you'll get less weed. Because if they put the soil, if they put fertilizer or urea or DAP in the soil, the weed also gets the nutrient from there. While here, if you spray in on the plants, the weeds the weeds on the soil do not get the nutrient. So also you have less weed. So you have less problem of parali. That could also solve the problem of pollution like Delhi.
Yes.
So you have to see overall is the interest of.
So nano sort of creates a virtual cycle of
yes.
which sort of helps with preventing pollution.
Yes.
Better crop.
Yes.
More nutrients in the food.
Yes.
Better health.
And no subsidy.
And no subsidy. So economically more viable.
Economically. All that money which is saved can be used for anything else by our government.
Right.
After all, this money, farmers are not realizing that for each bag of urea, the government is giving how much subsidy. Of course, we are writing on the bag, but that they don't care.
And this is public money. This is actually
It's public money.
correct.
Same thing DAP. So much of money we are giving as subsidy. And most of this money is going abroad because 80% of our product which is coming is imported. It's something like either in the form of gas, in the form of oil, in the form of rock phosphate, in form of sulfur, in form of ammonia.
Correct.
All that thing, most of it you are getting from abroad.
Correct.
So for our country, this is even it is better for country's economy. So it is win-win for all. It's not IFFCO alone. IFFCO is a farmers' organization. If I get less profit, doesn't matter. But what is more important is if I can contribute, if we can contribute something for the soil, for the country, for the farmers, for the cooperatives, IFFCO is there.
Finally, sir, this has been a most, I must say, an eye-opening interaction for me also personally. But I think finally, if you had to look back and sum up your philosophy or of all that you've done, and if you were talking to, let's say, somebody who's just joining the workforce, in one sentence, what would you tell him or her how to navigate the next 35, 40 years of their lives?
I will always say that. That's why my book says joys of crisis.
Correct.
I'm never worried about what is going to happen tomorrow. Enjoy today's. Do your best. Do your best and don't worry about what happens. Don't look at it, oh, I should have got this, I should have got that. It's all right. Whatever you get, you have got, be happy. But keep on working hard to achieve your dream. Never give up your dream. Never give up your hobby. Never give up what is in your heart. We are able to do that. We continue to remain as human, to appreciate somebody. If somebody is not as good, your colleague is not as good as you are, you should give him support. Don't leave him behind. Treat him as a part of family. These are qualities which are things I think I've always followed. And this is what I always advise people. Everybody, do hard work. Give your best. Whatever you get is what God has given. And accept it gracefully. I must tell you one more thing. If you find there's a common man here,
Right.
Mr. Lakshman's,
Yes.
it is there in my office always. When I enter my office, it always reminds me I have a common man. And common man always remain a common man. Be humble, be quiet.
Thank you, Dr. Awasthi, so much for taking time out and talking to CXO Connect on Times of India. Really, it was a privilege talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prasad. Talking to you and especially Times of India.